Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a plain and simple, book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse study through the entire Bible. Currently, we are in the book of Job, chapter 26. What is interesting about Job? This discourse, as we've been going through the discourse, with Job and his friends, his suffering, we know because God has given us a revelation, chapters 1 and 2. His friends don't have that revelation, and so they're speaking. Our takeaway from this is many times we speak on the behalf of God, or we speak on the lack of knowledge. Okay? Let me give you an example. One of the most common questions as a Christian that you will get is, if God is a God of love, if God is a God of love, right, then why does he allow all of the suffering, right? So think about that question, right? All of the suffering all around the world, why does God allow the suffering? The other question, of course, is why does a God of love and God of justice, why did he order the annihilation of an entire village, including women, children, infants, right? And that is true. Now, the only way that you could answer that question, as if, one, you have to have all of the information. You have to have all of the um, you certainly have to know what God knows or what he's willing to tell you to be able to adequately and justly answer the question. And then, of course, then render, excuse me, a judgment against God. And what we see from Job's friends, the discourse, is they are speaking without having the adequate knowledge. Okay? So, so chapter 22. Then Eliphaz, the Temanite, replied. Now remember, he was the first one to speak. Now I want you to understand that he was the first one to speak. Can a man be of any use to God? Can even a wise man be of use to him? Now it's hard to tell since we don't see the inflections. We're not there to kind of judge what's the meaning behind the question. In other words, is he being quirky, snarky, whatever? Is he really asking, can a man be of any use to God? The answer is obviously yes, because God created man. Then he says, can even a wise man be of use to him? Sure, all God's creation can be of use to him as God sees fit. Verse 3, does it delight the Almighty if you are righteous? Now, kind of interesting. Let me also say this about this kind of questioning here. Verse 3 says, does it delight the Almighty if you are righteous? Does he profit if you are perfect in your behavior? Now, this is a very humanistic, when I say humanistic, sinful kind of thought. Now, bear with me on this, because there's a couple of thoughts here with this chapter here that I want to explore. I hear this kind of questions and statements from atheists, from those who oppose God. Now, those of you, if you go through your YouTube and you'll see atheists, you'll see um, wise atheists, learned atheists. For example, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who represents this intellectual atheism. Now, their kind of position is, well, and by the way, Neil deGrasse Tyson is an extremely smart man. He's an astrophysicist. He's a very well-known astrophysicist. And so if you look at the different two popular science people, I think it's what Bill Nye, somebody the science guy or something like that, and then you compare him to Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson puts a lot of soul to the science. He makes science fun. Okay, but he's also extremely well read. So when you listen to his approach to science, one of the things that you will, if you pay attention, this question here, can man be of any use to God? It's the same kind of question we use. Like for example, when you think about, his view, and this is kind of what's called the glass half full or half empty, right? If you look at the vastness of the universe, he's an astrophysics, but he's also an atheist or something like it. I look at the vastness of the universe and I think, how awesome is the wisdom of God, the glory of God. He looks at the vastness of the universe and says, well, if God created this, it could have been better, right? When we think about the beauty of sight, right, that you look at all what we could see and enjoy through sight, he says, well, okay, how many different other spectrums of whatever, right, light and whatever, that kind of stuff. So while I don't know if it's just his way of attacking the notion or idea of God, but when you see this kind of statement here, can man be of any use of God, right? Does it delight in the Almighty if you are righteous? Now, Neil doesn't. The atheist scientists, they're not asking these kinds of questions, right? In other words, Eliphaz obviously is acknowledging God. Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't. In fact, one of the things they say, since I'm on the subject, is that all these different religions, man was religious because he was ignorant and childish in terms of the evolution of their development. And now, as we are growing, like, you achieve a lot of the knowledge, okay, we don't need the religion. We've outgrown the religion. And like I say, there's much could be challenged with that, because he will never be able to challenge his own sinfulness, all right? Let alone the sinfulness of everybody else. I mean, think about all over the world, how sin manifests in people. He can't explain that. But mostly can't explain his own sinfulness. In other words, he says, this is good. His nature himself will say, we're going to I was looking at this. I'm trying to see if my computer was messing up again. All right. Anyway, he can't explain his own sinfulness. All right, but let's move on. But I brought that into this because um, these are wise men, and the evolution of what's called wise men, wisdom. You get to a modern day person like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Now he wouldn't have this conversation. His conversations would be, does God exist? Our information based upon the universe and our superior intellect with how we have grown, um, we can prove that evolution happened. And again, that's something I would even say beyond. Let's say there are good Christians out here that could debate that. I would be too ignorant, I think, to be on that platform. I could make a statement, but anyway, all right, I've gone too far. So, verse 4 says, does he correct you and take you to court because of your piety? Is it your wickedness abundant? And aren't your iniquities endless? For you took collateral from your brothers without cause, stripping off their clothes and leaving them naked. You gave no water to the thirsty, and withheld food from the famished. While the land belonged to a powerful man, and an influential man lived upon it, you sent widows away empty handed, and the strength of the fatherless was crushed. Now, let me stop for a moment here. That's some heavy stuff that he's laying, isn't it? Some heavy charges that, and without a doubt, for a lot of rich people, this would be true. But watch this, was this true about Job? More so, was this true that even did Eliphaz, did he think this about Job? Let me go back, because I think now, just to show this here, let's go back. I want to go back to chapter 3. And let's I'm sorry, actually chapter 4. Now, this is Eliphaz. Remember I told you he was the first one to speak. And Job again had begun to pour out his anguish. But listen to this. Then Eliphaz the Temanites replied, should anyone try to speak with you when you are exhausted? Okay? In other words, again, all of it, this is more sympathy than it is. He's not saying exhausted from the standpoint of tired, but his condition, everything, as he said, yet who can keep from speaking? Now, again, this shows more of the character of of his friends than it does, of course, in terms of, is what they're saying true? No, what they're saying is not true because of their character, because of what is the sinfulness that is in them, the evilness, the uncaring, right? The lack of compassion. Verse 3. Now listen to this, because I want you to see this. Indeed, you have instructed many and have strengthened weak hands. Your words have steadied the one who was stumbling and embraced the knees that were buckling. But now this has happened to you and you become exhausted. So I just wanted to kind of just show that. He goes on. Remember, his first thing is that when if all of this has happened and someone has been innocent. But I want you to notice he acknowledges that, man, you had done some good things in your life. That's not the problem. It almost kind of look at, well, what's y'all point? Why are they so bent on getting Job to admit that he, um, is bad. That's really what they're trying to say to Job. You know you're bad. All right. So all of this right here is very interesting, right? That he would say this. All of this here, you didn't feed. You were wicked. Now it's kind of possible that he is. Let me come out of this here. Um, no, let me go on and finish reading this here. Um, when he says you took collateral from your brother without a cause, I don't see these kind of accusations here that Eliphaz is laying on him. Again, he didn't say it at the beginning. And why would his friend say this, right? Knowing the kind of person that Job is. And know this, we already know, by the way, this is not true because God himself has said Job is a righteous man. And I'm just kind of just looking at the fact that all of a sudden, remember this is all one conversation. So, we're moving through it in our timeline longer. But remember, this is probably this conversation happened in the span of one day, where they went back and forth. So this is an hour, 2 hours, whatever that they're going back and forth and speaking right there. They start off, okay, Job, yeah, you're a good man. Bad things happen to you, and you're falling apart. Now it's like these things happen to you because Job, you know you do wrong. You were wicked. You know you were wicked, right? Verse 10. I'm gonna start at verse 9 again. You sent widows away empty-handed, and the strength of the fatherless was crushed. Therefore snares surround you, and sudden dreads terrify you, or darkness, so you cannot see, and a flood of waters cover you. Isn't God as high as the heavens? And look at the highest stars, how lofty they are. Yet you say, well, what does God know? Can he judge through thick darkness? Clouds veil him so that he cannot see. As he walks on the circle of the sky, will you contend with the ancient path that the wicked men have walked? They were snatched away before their time, and their foundations were washed by the rivers. They were, they were the ones who said to God, "Leave us alone. And what can the Almighty do for us?" But it was He who filled their houses with good things. The counsel of the wicked is far from me. The righteous see it and rejoice. The innocent mock them, saying, "Surely our opponents are destroyed, and fire consumes what they left behind." Now, we'll see some of the same language that's going to find its way into a lot of the Psalms, okay? Come to terms with God and be at peace. In this way, good will come to you. Receive instruction from his mouth and place his saying in your heart. If you return to the Almighty, you will be renewed. If you banish injustice from your heart and consign your gold to the dust, the gold of Ophir and the Ophir, to the stones in the wadis, the Almighty will be your gold and your finest silver. Then you will delight in the Almighty and lift up your face to God. You will pray to him and he will hear you, and you will fulfill your vows. When you make a decision, it will be carried out, and light will shine on your ways. When others are humiliated and you say, "Lift them up," God will save the humble. He will even rescue the guilty ones. Who will be rescued by the purity? He will even, okay, I'm sorry, 30 again. He will even rescue the guilty ones. Who will be rescued by the purity of your hands? Now, again, none of what he says, right, he has any knowledge of by speaking on the behalf of God. Okay. All right, guys. Let's Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next study.